From the transfer updates of Joao Pedro and Jamie Gittens to the impressive performances of Pedro Neto, Liam Delap and Esther Willian at the Club World Cup, to the probable departures of Noni Madueke and Nicholas Jackson, and the rumors linking Chelsea to Alejandro Garnacho and Mohamed Kudus, we're going to be discussing all that in this video. Welcome guys to the channel, welcome to the new video. If you're new, consider subscribing and hitting that like button to give a speed to the video. We go straight into it. Chelsea have agreed deals to sign first winger Jamie Gittens from Borussia Dortmund for more than £50 million. It's been a long way to this conclusion, but finally the agreement is in place with the Borussia Dortmund. Chelsea initially submitted 2 bids that were rejected before the Club World Cup, and at the moment it seems the agreement is in place with the club. Chelsea had already agreed the personal terms with the player, the wage not a problem, 7-year contract for Gittens, and it's now a year we go. I think we shall have to wait until Borussia Dortmund are maybe eliminated from the Club World Cup for the confirmation of the deal by the club. Of course, we know Jadon Sancho left. He returned to Manchester United, with Chelsea paying £5 million to Manchester United instead of paying £25 million for Jadon Sancho to stay at Chelsea. Of course, the problem was his wage demands. Chelsea were not willing to continue with him at that cost. Of course, Jamie Gittens is the player that replaced Jadon Sancho when he left Dortmund to join Manchester United. And from what I have personally heard and read, he's not a better player than Jadon Sancho, but he can improve, and paying £55 million for him instead of 25 for Jadon Sancho, maybe the wages, but also I think it's really a huge decision for the club, but they made it. Then going to Joao Pedro, again more than £50 million from Brighton. Is a Brazilian international. He joined Brighton for £30 million from Watford. He scored 10 goals last season, and he scored 9 goals in the 2023-2024 season. So that's 19 goals in the last 2 seasons. It means he has scored 5 goals less than Nicholas Jackson. Nicholas Jackson scored 10 last season and 14 in the previous season. So Joao Pedro at least is not better than Nicholas Jackson on paper. Of course, the advantage is that he can play as a left winger, as a 9, and as a 10. Of course, roles that we have seen Nicholas Jackson playing, he has never been ready on the squad as a 10, but we see him very often being behind Cole Palmer and providing for him. Or in the first game in the Club World Cup, we saw him being on the halfway line and providing that through pass to Pedro Neto for our first goal in the Club World Cup. So that deal is also done. We are good at signing these young players, especially those that have played either formerly at Manchester City, where one of our sporting directors was, and also players from Brighton. Joao Pedro joins Robert Sanchez, Marco Cucurella, and the midfield general Moses Caicedo, plus the sporting directors and Graham Potter, who left. So the list is that long, and I read something on Sky Sports that we have now spent over £230 million on players that previously played for Actually, we are signing them directly from Brighton. So leaving that alone, we go to Pedro Neto. If you've really been watching the Club World Cup and also towards the end of the season, Pedro Neto has really improved a lot. One of the problems we had last season is that when our main goal scorers in Nicholas Jackson and Cole Palmer lost form, when they couldn't score goals, we went off form and we went from being second and nearly aspiring title contenders to nearly missing out on the Champions League spots. We actually had to win our last game of the season to qualify for the Champions League. So maybe Pedro Neto's uplift in form could be really a significant boost for Chelsea next season. You see him very composed, he's finishing, he doesn't need to play in the crosses like he has been doing previously. Of course, maybe that might have to change when we go back to the Premier League, as so many of the teams prefer sitting back when we have the ball and the crosses might be necessary. But good news, Liam Delap is here, and that takes us to our next talking point. Liam's improvement and a good start at Chelsea at the Club World Cup. A goal and an assist already in just 4 games plus 1 ruled out shows that his finishing is really top notch. And also the way he participates in the game besides scoring or assists has also been really phenomenal. Last season he scored 12 goals for Ipswich and we got him for just £30 million, and it looks like that might be another steal as we did for Cole Palmer, signing him for just £45 million, and now is worth more than £100 million. So Liam Delap, if all things go well, has really been impressive so far. Another person who has improved as a Chelsea player is Estavo Willian, of course not playing for Chelsea, but Palmeiras, who we will be facing in the quarterfinals of the Club World Cup. Estavo Willian won the Man of the Match awards in the first 2 games, but even in the game where he wasn't the best player, he still really played well, and I personally thought it was his best game. He was also really good in their round of 16 game against was it Botafogo? The game that they won in extra time. Is it 1-0 to qualify for the round of 16? We will be facing them, and he will have a chance to showcase his talent against his own club. Good news. You can't even predict where he will be playing, as he can play on the right wing, he can play as a 10, and he has also been deployed as a left winger. So we wait and see what Estavo Willian will present to us when we meet, but so far he has been really impressive, and we will all be waiting to see him at the Stamford Bridge and see how he will be utilized. Of course, Palmer is there as a 10. Pedro Neto, as I have already said, is already impressing as a right winger, and Chelsea have now agreed a deal to signing Joao Pedro, who can be deployed on the left, and also Jamie Gittens, who is mainly a righty-footed winger, but who plays mainly on the left wing, where also Noni Madueke and Pedro Neto have been utilized in the previous season. So we wait and see how the manager will really use Estavo Willian. Good news is there will be lots of competition. Carabao, FA, Champions League, Premier League, all these tournaments crucial for Chelsea next season, especially the Champions League and the Premier League. So minutes will be available, I'm sure. And then from the 3 players that have impressed, we go to 2 players that have really not at their best at the Club World Cup, and that's Nicholas Jackson, who didn't have the best ending to the league, having missed a few games and due to an injury, and then when he returned, he was given a deserved red card against Newcastle, a game that we lost, I think 2-0, and he missed a few games towards the end of the season. And unluckily, when it came to the Club World Cup, despite registering an assist for our first goal in the tournament, he was sent off in the next game against Botafogo. At that time, we were 2-0 down. We went ahead to lose 3-1. We were 2-1 down. We went ahead to lose 3-1. Of course, we were already out of the game, but him missing 3 games and Liam Delap scoring in the next game and also being impressive throughout has really not done any good to Nicholas Jackson. So he's linked with moves away with the likes of Napoli and some other Premier League teams interested in him. So we wait and see. Chelsea might be willing to sell, as they are still linked with multiple players on the market and have already signed a few in Joao Pedro and Liam Delap. I don't think Joao Pedro is better than Nicholas Jackson. I don't think Liam Delap is better than Nicholas Jackson either, because both of them scored 10 goals from open play last season. Nicholas Jackson has already shown how he makes Chelsea better, including his link up with Cole Palmer. Actually, if Nicholas Jackson leaves, Chelsea might not lose, but one player that might lose a lot is Cole Palmer. Of course, Cole Palmer might have been lower than where he has been in terms of assists, because Nicholas Jackson has been missing a lot of chances, but also in terms of what he receives, Cole Palmer has been receiving lots of good passes and creatives from Jackson. And then from Jackson we go to another player that could leave, Noni Madueke, is linked with Arsenal. So many other teams could be interested in him. He isn't that bad. We signed him for about £30 million. And if a team maybe is offering 45 or 50, Chelsea might just open their hands and receive that paycheck. So Noni, who has struggled, especially on that left wing where he has been deployed, might be on the move away. But we don't need to weaken our squad because Pedro Neto on the right, we know he's injury prone. We were lucky he didn't get injured last season, but from history at Wolverhampton, Pedro Neto, we very well know, is an injury prone player. So we might need to keep Noni Madueke at least for next season and see how Pedro Neto's injury record goes on, and then we see how Estavo Willian settles in. Maybe we can then consider selling Noni if it is necessary. But he is working on himself, and I think he looks ahead to improving. We saw him getting a new personal coach and even reporting early for the training. So that shows you that he is a player that wants to improve. And then from that, we all were craving for Andre Santos to be given game time. When it was done, it wasn't really the best for him. It wasn't that impressive, but it was his first competitive game for the club. He has been playing in friendlies in the preseason previously, but competitive game, that was his first time, and really it was a bit tough for him. He mainly played those safe passes, and he lost possession a few times, but we were lucky we were not punished. And then despite having signed a few players already in Liam Delap, who has really already been impressive, Dario Esugo, a cover-up to Moses Caicedo and Mamasa. We are linked with more players in Mohamed Kudus and in Alejandro Garnacho. Of course, such moves would only happen, I think, if some kind of swaps, some kind of player transitions are involved. We know in the January transfer window, there was an opportunity for Chelsea to exchange Christopher Nkunku for Alejandro Garnacho. That didn't materialize, but even after that, Nicholas Jackson got injured, but again, Christopher Nkunku never impressed that much. So, Nkunku might have to leave. We wait and see. Manchester United's priorities are Brian Mbeumo, so we wait and see how that will go on as time goes on. Another player we are linked with is Mohamed Kudus. A price tag of £80 million is really high, and we wait and see how that will transpire. Of course, if player transactions are involved, the deal might happen. Chelsea agreed actually personal terms with Mohamed Kudus when he was leaving Ajax, but Chelsea were not willing to pay the 40 million euros that Ajax were asking for. West Ham paid that, and the rest is history. So they are now valuing him for £80 million, a proven Premier League player. So we wait and see how Chelsea might advance on that. And then my last quest for this video is really about our manager Enzo Maresca. How will he utilize these players? Will he really give a balanced play time to the new signing? We saw last season where after the January transfer window, lots of players wanted to leave either on loan or permanently, and basically that was because they were not getting enough playing time, especially in the premium competition, that's the Premier League. You saw the likes of Joao Felix, Renato Vega, lots of players really left. And if that happens next season, we might be in danger, because after those players departed, we saw injuries coming in and our form really dropped, having us drop from second to nearly missing out on European football. So that should not happen again. And the challenge next season is going to be that Cole Palmer, who might play in the Premier League over the weekend, will want to play again the Champions League in midweek. So balancing that, last season it was easier because you could rest your best for the Premier League and use the alternative for the Conference League, but that won't be the case next season. So we wait and see what will transpire. And that is it for the video. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Thank you.